Good morning, everyone. Greetings from Brisbane and welcome to our Free Trade Agreements webcast, Navigating the Export Journey. My name is Sally Phillips. I'm the manager of Austrade's FTA program, that's Free Trade Agreement, and I'm delighted to be your facilitator today. Well, over the last 5 years, we've spoken to many of you directly. In fact, over 7,000 businesses have attended one of our Free Trade Agreement seminars in over 100 locations across Australia. But current business circumstances mean that we're delivering information differently. In fact, we're coming directly to your desks, wherever your desk may be today, because we believe it's important to keep bringing you market information. So today is our second webcast in a series of 12, and it's designed to take you on a journey and to keep you connected and informed on all things FTA and export related. So I'd like to begin by saying welcome and how pleased we are to have you with us this morning. Well, you're not alone. We've had almost 600, I think it may be over 600 people registered for this morning's session. I'd also like to extend a special welcome to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are joining this webinar this morning. And I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional custodians of all the lands on which we gather today. Here in Brisbane, where I am, it's the Turrbal and the Yugara peoples, and I'd like to pay my respects to their elders, past and present. Now, we have a great lineup of speakers today who are coming to us from all over Australia. They're looking forward to helping you navigate through a range of touch points and assistance that's available to help you export for the first time, or for many of you, perhaps you're looking to expand those export markets. Now, our webcast today complements the information for exporters delivered in our first webinar 2 weeks ago. That's where we featured a range of specific initiatives the government has implemented to protect our economy and support business. Now, before I get too far into today's program, I just want to make sure that you're all set up. So a few technical housekeeping items first up. You may have noted that there are some boxes on your screen. Now, these can be moved around and adjusted. But if you get stuck, have a look at the icons at the bottom, and the one with the arrow will take you back. The one with the person is for the speaker's bio notes, and the one that looks like a little bit of a chat or a thought bubble, that's for your Q&A. Now, you've all automatically been popped on mute. However, if by any chance you're experiencing technical difficulties or need help, please type IT help into your chat box, and Eddie, our talented technician, will reach out to you. Now, if your internet's struggling today and we do lose you for whatever reason, we are recording this event and the content will be available on Austrade's website, the FTA page, later this afternoon. Okay, well, I'm delighted to say that we have the Honourable Andrew Gee, the Minister, assisting the Minister for Trade and Investment and the Minister for Decentralisation and Regional Education here to open our webcast. Now, the Minister sends his apologies that he couldn't join us live due to his parliamentary commitments, but we've managed to catch him on the hop yesterday and recorded him so he could join us from his Canberra office. So over to you, Minister.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's seminar on navigating the export journey. This is the second seminar in the Free Trade Agreement digital seminar series, which we're delivering over the next few months to assist Australian businesses to take advantage of export opportunities, especially the opportunities emerging from our network of free trade agreements. Today's seminar will address the range of assistance available across Australia, including to regional areas, with the aim of supporting your business to navigate the export journey. Now, it's no secret that the drought, bushfires, floods and COVID-19 have had a significant impact on our lives and livelihoods in Australia in recent times, especially in country Australia. Yet despite these challenges, our export sector has proven to be resilient and very strong. In fact, Australia posted a $19.2 billion trade surplus in the March quarter. As COVID-19 restrictions have started to relax, our economic recovery has become the government's priority, and our exports into overseas markets will be crucial to that recovery. The Prime Minister's made the point clear in his remarks at the National Press Club recently that Australia will remain a sovereign, open trading economy and will continue to be part of global supply chains by creating jobs, supporting incomes and building business. This reinforces the government's long-standing commitment to an open and rule-based trading system. Our trade and investment relationships and the trade agreements that have enhanced them have certainly served Australia well for a long time. And with this in mind, the Australian government is working closely with business and industry to further facilitate trade opportunities, especially for those sectors heavily impacted by COVID-19, by ensuring the free flow of goods and that flow can continue, and that exporters are able to get their product to markets around the world. We've been swift to establish initiatives such as the International Freight Assistance Mechanism, the COVID-19 Export Capital Facility, and additional export market development grants funding. And we're complementing this support through our work with international partners to promote and protect Australia's trade, access and investment interests during these uncertain times. Now, more than ever, is the time for businesses across Australia, including in the regions, to take advantage of the substantial and diverse trading opportunities available under our expanding network of free trade agreements. I encourage you to explore the broad range of government services and support in place to help you capture these opportunities. After all, it's all of you, our farmers, our businesses and our education providers, that are the backbone of Australia's economy. Now, shortly, I'll hand over to a range of trade experts from across government, and they'll explain some of the tools and services available to you that can equip you with the knowledge and skills to meet the challenges of exporting. But before I do, I'd encourage you to tune in to as many of these seminars as you can in the coming months. The seminars will cover insights into exciting market opportunities, updates on our recent trade agreements and negotiations, and practical advice on capturing the opportunities offered by Australia's expanding network of free trade agreements and meeting the challenges of the export journey. So I hope you enjoyed today's seminar, and I wish you all the best for your own export journey. Have a great seminar, folks.
Thank you, Minister. Well, technology is clearly on our side this morning. Isn't it good when it works? So shortly, we're going to hear from our experts, and then we'll finish with the Q&A panel. Firstly, just a couple of quick points, and to reiterate for those who've just joined us. You will be able to post questions in the chat box, and we'll try and respond to as many of those as possible. We've already received quite a few questions submitted at registration, so thanks everybody for doing that. It helps us tailor the content. I can see we've got more questions coming in as I'm speaking, so what I'm going to try and do is group those questions into themes so we can cover as many as possible during that panel session. Secondly, we have a survey. It's a very short survey. You'll be able to see that it's actually on one of the icons down below where you've got the chat box and you've got the return arrow. We'd really like you to complete this survey because it helps us inform future content. We've got 10 more in this series to run, so it's really important that we get feedback from you about what what you'd like to hear about from us, particular questions that you might have, and how you rate the content today. So please pull that up at any time during today's seminar and provide some feedback. The other favour I've got to ask of you is social media. We'd love you to share this webinar series with your networks. Our hashtag for today's event is, unsurprisingly, hashtag FTA seminars. So whether you're madly tweeting, Instagramming, LinkedIning, Facebooking, WhatsApping, it'd be fantastic if you can help share this information so more people can access it. Okay, so let's move on and welcome our speakers. Our 5 experts joining us today will focus on key access points and strategies and tools to help exporters navigate the journey. So our first speaker, I'm delighted to say, is Diane Tipping. Now, she's the chair of the Export Council of Australia. It's great to have Diane with us today. As you can imagine, she's got a pretty demanding schedule, being the chair of the Export Council. By way of background, Diane has enjoyed a long and varied career in international trade promotion and facilitation. She's quite sought after for her knowledge and insights, and she serves on several boards, government and non-government committees. Now, I've got the list of everything she does. It's quite long, and in the interest of time, we've popped all the speakers' bios, and you can click on those on the little person box down with the other arrows. So Diane is calling in from Sydney today. So welcome, Diane. We're looking forward to hearing your comments. Do we have you online?
Thank you, Sally. Yes, I'm pleased to be here. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to start off with, the topic, navigating the export journey. So why should we navigate the export journey? Why should we do that? Next slide, please. A little bit about the ECA before I go into that question and try and answer it very quickly. The Export Council has been established for over 60 years, and we've been working with businesses to build their skills and know-how to enter the global. Now, the ECA has a number of different areas that we're involved in. Membership, obviously, we're a not-for-profit membership organisation, so we have a lot of work that we do with our members, but we work with all exporters. We have our skills development, which I believe we're the leading organisation in Australia on skills development for trade. We have trade policy and advocacy, and I thoroughly enjoy being able to talk to a number of government organisations and private organisations and businesses about what we can do to improve or enhance our trade policy in Australia. We're very keen to be out there advocating on behalf of our members, and we're on many committees that we're enabling us and enables us, I should say, to actually speak to government and other businesses about what we can do to improve policies and arrangements and issues within Australia for exporters. We have a number of other work things that we do. We have a social enterprise area where we work with some, with the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and we work in other countries to develop, particularly in gender diversity areas, the capacity and capability of exporters in developing countries. So very proud to be very much a very broad organisation that does a lot of things. But next slide, please. Let's talk about why export. Many reasons why we should export. Tapping into a global customer base of 7 billion versus 25 million is a big reason. There's lots of other reasons: premium price opportunities, Australia's reputation. We are perceived as having some really excellent product and services that we want to share with the world. But let's not fool ourselves. There are many other countries out there that have excellent products and services as well. So it is a very important purpose of us in Australia to remain very high quality and our standards to remain very high as well. But we do need to keep enhancing that, building on that, and realising that there is competition as well in that area. The demand for technologies is growing more and more every day. So our ag tech, biotech, health tech industries, where we're very advanced in Australia, are very in demand across the world. So we should look at services. I don't want this to sound like it's just about goods, which we do really well as also, but we need to consider that services is very much a part of our trade system and very much a part of our trade balance as well. We have many other reasons, but at the end of the day, it's about making money, to be blunt. And making money, not just for an individual, not just for a business, but for Australia. The export capabilities of Australia are enormous, and the viability and income back to Australia is important. We need that income to develop Australia more, to build, to skill people, to live well, to live comfortably. So lots of reasons why we should export, not just one, but lots of reasons. Next slide, please. So, navigating the export journey. Organisations that succeed in international trade ventures are those that carefully plan their market entry strategies. So at the end of the day, it's not just about, we have a great product, let's go overseas. You have to have a strategy. And the following speakers today will talk a lot about that strategy. But at the end of the day, you need a plan. You need a business plan. And if you have already got an export business plan, now, after what we have been through in the last 3 months, is the time to renew that, to look at it, to actually think about how you can enhance that under the new systems and circumstances that we are living in at the moment. If you've never done an export plan and you are wanting to get into export, then you need to do that. You need to look at market strategies. You need to look at market entries. You need to look at the standards in other countries and where our products fit into that country's rules and regulations. So lots of reasons why you need a business plan. There are many templates available to do that. Austrade has templates on their website. We have a template on our website. Many organisations do that. There is lots of assistance and knowledge out there. You need to talk to people to get that knowledge. So navigating the export journey starts with having a plan. Next slide, please. So the plan, what do you need to put into that plan? Your market analysis of what market and market research you're doing, market entry rules and regulations. Carrots, for instance, the simple little carrot, and I always like talking about the carrots because we export a lot of them, but there are rules and regulations in other countries about whether we can even export carrots there. and what the quotas might be, or the rules in that country for quarantine requirements and so forth. Pricing doesn't mean that your price that you sell something for in Australia, if you are selling in Australia already, that particular product. And let's remember that not all exporters are domestic sellers. They can be only in the export market. In fact, one of the largest exporters in Australia in regards to value and quantity has more export market value than they do in domestic value. So it's not about doing well just in Australia and then you'll be successful elsewhere. Obviously, if you're not doing well in Australia, you probably won't do well overseas because you have to strategize, and that strategy is important. So trade terms, you need to understand what the requirements of your logistics and documentation might be. It might sound simple just doing a shipment somewhere that someone wants to buy, but there's a lot of rules and regulations to get those goods from A to Z. So there are a number of things I've listed there about what your plan needs to do, but you do need to spend time and go through that. You need to look very much at the last item there and your cash flow and how you're going to manage that shipment from A to Z. You're not going to get paid the day you start a shipment or start the planning. If you do, that's fine. I will rephrase that. You can possibly get paid the day that you do an order, but most orders are usually through a payment process, and there's part payments, payments later, down payments, those sorts of things. So you need to think about how that's going to work and how you're going to manage maybe the 2 or 3 months between receiving an order and getting paid, that will manage your cash flow internally. So lots of things to think about. Next slide, please. So the Export Council can assist, as can many organisations, but we feel we're the leading organisation in Australia in regards to skills development. We've developed a 28-module roadmap of which have export stages, and you can see there's starting out, becoming more aware of the markets and understanding the rules in those markets, understanding the market, how you would promote in that market, who you would use to help you promote in that market, who are your customers going to be, who are your agents going to be if you're going to have agents. So these stages are really, really important. And even for advanced manufacturers, just like any industry, we do not stop learning. Things change regularly. Rules in other countries change regularly. So we do need to continue to master the art of exporting. It's not always going to be easy. There will be setbacks. There will be issues where documentation may fail. You need to act quickly. You need to react. A lot of this export stage information is really, really important to have on your portfolio. You need to understand everything. Next slide, please. Assistance. So there are many organisations, and I've listed them all there, and I think everyone gets a copy of these slides and everyone's slides at the end of the webinar, probably tomorrow. But there are many, many businesses and government organisations in Australia that can help. Please take note of those organisations. They're very, very good. They all have a purpose. We all have a purpose in the export journey. The exporter, the industry bodies, the skills developers, the government organisations, the chambers, or everyone involved in it has a purpose. Use every one of those services. It's really, really important to talk to everyone, get as much knowledge as you can, and understand the journey. Not just navigating it, but understand what the journey is all about and how it works. Next slide. COVID-19. Well, we are very fortunate in Australia. We are on the recovery phase, I feel, at the moment. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be thinking about the rest of the world. They're not quite on that recovery phase, most of them. And so we have developed a checklist, a business checklist. I'd like you to look at our website and have a look at that. And the link is there for you to go into that. But it's all about planning. It's all about understanding the market, all about understanding the logistics. I mean, everyone that's probably joined today is really well aware of the air freight logistic issues that we're having in Australia, and most countries are having at the moment. We have a great stimulus package from the government, from the federal government, called the IFAM package. But there are other ways that you can export, but they're quite hard and a little expensive at the moment. So you need to think about that. You need to think about the fact that you might have a contract with someone that was organised or signed off maybe 6 months ago. Now you're in a position where you may have to pay more freight. Your services might not be as available to get to that buyer overseas. How do you manage that? Do you try and renegotiate? Do you try and pay the extra costs and lose a little bit of maybe profit line. How you need to sit down and think. So please look at our COVID checklist and consider the points on that. Next slide, please. Thank you. That's a very brief overview about what I feel at the Export Council feels that we need to think about in the export journey. Please consider your business plan, crucial, and all the points that need to go in that. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane. That's really fascinating. Obviously, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much information there. Diane touched on trade terms, and that is one of the topics that we'll be covering in our next webinar on the 24th of June. So now I'm going to go ahead and introduce each of our next 4 speakers. So once they've presented, they'll hand over directly to the next speaker, so kind of a tag team. I'll then come back to facilitate our Q&A panel. So our next speaker today is Damien Halliday. He's representing Oz Industry and he's based in South Australia. He also covers the Northern Territory. So Damien advises businesses on how to access and benefit from a range of assistance programs, all designed to promote growth, innovation and competitiveness, available through the Department of Industry, Innovation and Science. So Damien's calling in from Adelaide this morning. Good morning, Damien. Do we have you on the line?
Good morning, Sally. I'm here. Thank you. Greetings, everybody online. It's a pleasure to talk with you briefly about some of the support options that you might not be aware of, and a network that exists that can help you in that business journey. Oz Industry is a service delivery arm of the Department of Industry, Science, Energy and Resources. Our focus is to provide a range of programs and services to help businesses start, run and grow. And we support businesses from all sectors and all sizes. Our network has a national footprint, so just treat us as a doorway for government support. We have close to 30 regional managers and business development officers who are good for guidance and referrals to government programs. There are over 140 entrepreneurs program advisors and industry experts to help you grow, commercialise and be competitive. And for some of you in the defence sector, perhaps looking to join global supply chains, Oz Industry's Centre for Defence Industry Capability can help with another 23 advisors and facilitators around the country. Our key online platform is business.gov.au, but one of the most important parts of this site is our grants and programs finder. So you don't really need to pay someone to find out about Australian government grants, since they're usually published on business.gov.au. All you need to do is answer a few key questions about your location, your industry, the type of assistance you're looking for, and it covers options from federal, state and local governments and includes export assistance articles and links to templates. Next slide, please. So how can we help you be more globally competitive? Let me briefly outline a few of our flagship programs. Firstly, the Entrepreneurs Program. If you're an established business and looking towards your next step and stage in growth, the business management arm of the Entrepreneurs Program might be for you. It's one of the key components of this program is a business evaluation service. It provides access to experienced independent advisors that will comprehensively review your business operations, create a plan for actioning those outlined strategies so that you can become more competitive. This is delivered at no financial cost to your business, includes up to 12 months of mentoring and help to implement the strategies. Depending on what your business advisor recommends, you may be eligible for grants of up to 20K and match funding to implement those recommendations. The program element is sector dependent, so if you're interested, then jump across to business.gov.au to find out more. Secondly, there's the R&D tax incentive. So for some of you, your business might be undertaking eligible research and development activities that will further develop your product with an overseas market in mind. So if you might want to consider the R&D tax incentive for long-running programs, for research and development activities to try to answer technical unknowns, solutions you can't purchase off the shelf. So again, jump across to business.gov.au and it might help you out in that one. Finally, I think this is a good audience to mention that we also co-fund support initiatives like the SME Export Hubs. The Export Hubs are business networks designed to help small and medium enterprises with opportunities in international markets, particularly in countries where we've signed FTAs. Export Hubs develop export strategies based on local strengths. So for example, in my home state, South Australia, we have Food SA's SME Export Hub, which supports food and beverage manufacturers and producers to become export ready and fast track their export growth. The South Australian Food and Beverage Export Hub focuses on 8 key export markets and offers specialist advice, coaching, which includes support for businesses that aren't export ready. Jump across, see in business.gov.au, there might be an export hub near you that's suitable to your particular sector. Last slide, please. So that's it for me for now. I'll hand over to Darren and he'll take you through some Trade Start. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Damien. In my eagerness to introduce Damien, I didn't introduce everybody else. So I'd like to introduce Darren. So Darren Levy is our export advisor, and he's from Trade Start. Darren is calling in from Perth, so he's had a little bit of an early start this morning. So Darren is an expert in free trade agreements and an authorised signatory for certificates of origin. He's a wide range of industry experience across technology, mining, national security, manufacturing, food and agriculture. And after Darren, then we're going to be hearing from, so I'm just going to my notes here, we'll be hearing from Murray Hill. And Murray Hill is one of our Austraders. She's managing the digital services. She's a former trade commissioner, most recently returned from Peru and Ecuador. So Murray is the project lead on a new digital product called the Trade Information Service, which is due to go live on the 30th of June. So Murray's going to give us a little bit of an insight on that. And our final speaker today will be Michael Dean. And Michael is with the Department of Foreign Affairs. He works in the Trade and Investment Advocacy branch. Michael is focused on trade advocacy and has extensive trade agreements experience, having most recently worked on the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. And once again, all of those bios are down below on that link. So now I will hand over to Darren Levy from Trade Start. So Darren's calling in from WA, from Perth this morning. Thanks, Darren.
Thanks, Sally. Good morning, everybody. My name's Darren Levy, and I'm the Austrade Trade Start Advisor based at the Chamber of Commerce and Industry in WA, in Perth. And I'm going to explain how the Austrade Trade Start Network can support your export journey. Next slide, please. Sorry, next slide, please. The Trade Start Network is an extension to Austrade's own offices and is delivered in partnership with the state and territory and local governments and chambers of commerce. You can see in this map that there are Austrade offices and Trade Start offices. We are a team of over 30 export trade specialists around Oz, and we're embedded into the Austrade network, providing support tailored to export-ready businesses. Like many of my colleagues, I have been a commercial export manager and spent decades developing international trade and new business on the ground in multiple countries. So within the Trade Start team, there is considerable direct trade experience to help you navigate the journey. Next slide, please. So we are actually employed by the partner organisations, state and territory governments and chambers of commerce, not by Austrade. They also have huge support programs, including education, grants, and their own strong overseas networks. So think of Trade Start as a bridge that brings together the onshore and offshore tools and resources of Austrade and our partner organisations, and provides local assistance on the ground close to your business to help you work through that journey. Next slide, please. The Trade Start Network recognises the vital contribution from regional Australia, with many Trade Start offices located in key regional export hubs. Regional Trade Start team members leverage Austrade networks and capital city resources to ensure regional exporters have access to the same level of service as our city counterparts. So how do we help businesses like yours? Next slide, please. Well, export can be a very confusing journey, and sometimes it's hard to get answers to the technical questions about international markets. Questions like, well, how do I pick the right export markets? How do I find the right representative in country? Or how do I open an offshore office? What if somebody copies my product? I get that one a lot. How can I protect myself? Where do I find my compliance obligations to export into that country? How do I culturally engage with people from different countries? And is there anyone on the ground in that country I can speak to that can actually help me? These are some of the many questions we get every week. And we have a lot of answers for those questions. And I think you'll recognize many questions that would be similar to yours if you're thinking about exporting, or even if you are a well-established exporter. Next slide, please. TradeStart is here to help you work through answers to your technical questions and navigate the export journey into international markets. Whether you are a new or an experienced exporter, we can help bring structure, process, and science to your decision-making to help you find and develop new business opportunities in markets that have confirmed demand for your type of product or service. We can also point you to offices in multiple countries staffed with Aussies and locals to help you answer some of your questions. Now, there's a deep body of knowledge associated with each strategy element on this slide, and we combine our own expertise and those of our TradeStart partner networks to help you understand how to get them right. Next slide, please. Now, I know this is a busy slide and it's done deliberately to show that there are multiple programs, grants, digital tools, agencies, and people that can help you. During my days as an export manager for different companies, it took me several years to understand just how extensive government and business association resources are to help develop export sales. And now that I'm on the other side helping businesses, I'm still coming across new support resources every month, which are tailored to different products and services. So this slide just serves to say, whether you are new or experienced, go online to austrade.gov.au and export.industry.gov.au, or pick up the phone and give us a call, because there's a lot we can do to help you. Next slide, please. This is the last slide, and I like this one because it's how we work every day. And when I say we, I mean Austrade and our partner organisations, and in fact, all the agencies you're hearing from today. You've heard the expression, everyone needs a nerd at some point. Well, we're actually proud to be international trade nerds. And when we come to the table with you, it's like having a team of specialist trade nerds who can bring together the huge resources and networks across Austrade and our partner organisations to help you build new sales into export markets. And to us, that's not really work, that's just fun. So thanks everyone, that's all from me. Now I'm going to hand over to Mari Hill, who has recently returned from Peru as the Trade Commissioner. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Darren. I love to work with trade nerds, and it's great to know you guys are all there to support exporters. Hi, everyone. It's great to be with you. I'm Mari Hill from Austrade, and I'll be talking about Austrade's digital services and how they can help you navigate the export journey. They're a great complement to the kinds of services that Darren and the TradeStart team deliver face-to-face. In fact, primarily until now, our services have been face-to-face, and some of you may have experienced some of them, things like our market briefings, like events like today, or programs of appointment in market, partner searches, or taken part in missions and events. Australian businesses rank Austrade services very highly. The challenge for us is they're not very scalable, and that's what Austrade's effort to go digital and provide more services in a digital manner is all about. We want our services, which are so highly valued, to be more accessible by more Australian businesses whenever and wherever they want to access them. So to do that, we're trying to convert the great know-how that people like Darren in the TradeStart network, our own Austrade advisors, our business development managers offshore have, and turn them into digital tools that you can use wherever you are. We've designed those new tools with the feedback that you have given us about what you need and how you need it in mind. So these tools are built very much with the needs of the exporter, both new and established and seeking to expand, in mind. And you can see some of the things that people have described to us as their pain points, which have informed the design of these services in the slide there. Next slide, please. And I think that's it. Great. So one of a not so new service, an oldie but a goodie, but still digital, is the Austrade website. And it's a great source of information on things like how to export, overseas markets, financial support that you can gain to support your export efforts, and success stories from companies like yours that have already gone international. You can also register for events like this one today, and also subscribe to newsletters so that you can get up-to-date information about sectors and markets of interest to you. You can also learn about programs like the Export Market Development Grant, like things like the landing pads for startup companies going international, and things like IFAM, the International Freight Assistance Mechanism that Diane mentioned earlier, for fresh produce exporters that are seeking to navigate the issues with international freight at the moment. Our website gets almost 200,000 users a month. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to talk about some of our newer services, the things that are actually in development at the moment. They're actually not hosted on the Austrade website. They're hosted on business.gov.au, the site that Damien mentioned earlier, offered by the Department of Industry. And it's a kind of shop front for all of the services for business that government offers, both at the state and federal level. And the philosophy here going forward is really that you shouldn't have to know that Austrade exists or where to go for what across government. We should be putting it all in one place so it's really easy for you to navigate. And that's why we're putting our new services in this spot. So two of our new services that we've recently launched are Find Export Markets and Export Market Profiles. And you might notice in the top right-hand side of this site that there's a little tag that says beta. And that just means that these are works in progress. Our philosophy, again, with these new services is that we want to put them in your hands as soon as possible. They might not be perfect. In fact, they're not perfect. We're going to be improving them iteratively as time goes on. But the best way we can deliver value early is to give them to you as users as soon as possible. And the best way we can learn how to improve them is to find out how you're using them so we know what we need to do next. Next slide, please. I'm going to talk in a little bit more detail about each of these. First, the Find Export Markets tool. This kind of mirrors some of the things that Darren was saying earlier, but helps put this power in your hands. Initially, this product has been designed for the food and agribusiness sector, and shortly there'll be a version for the health sector. This guides you through the process, a 3-step process of shortlisting, assessing, and then selecting markets. It provides you with links to practical information and data to help you make this assessment, and it also provides tips from Austrade and TradeStart advisors about how to do this. It's really an aid to your decision making to determine which markets might be most prospective for your goods and services. Next slide, please. The other new digital service that we have developed is called Export Market Profiles, and it's a repository searchable by product and market of market briefs. So we still offer market briefings, but here's a virtual version of a market brief. This includes things like demand trends, competitive environment, incentives, and shortly it'll include the project that I'm working on, the Trade Information Service, which is about bringing export regulations, both those applied by Australia when you're sending your goods overseas and those in the importing country. We're putting all of those into one place so that, again, you don't have to go hunting around trying to navigate this across government, and you don't need to know who's responsible for what. You go all to the one shop front, business.gov.au. In fact, the website for these services is export.business.gov.au. Next slide, please. The final service I wanted to talk about today, the final digital service, is the Market Information Package. And this is particularly for the education sector. It's a weekly update of market insight, of international student data, and of live opportunities to do business in the education sector. And it draws on the resources generated by our network of almost, I think, 80 offices in nearly 50 countries. So it's a great resource for the international education sector. And next slide, please, which is my final slide, which is to say that all of these digital services are supported by people. We still have people here to support you, and one of the great ways we can support you is through the business.gov.au contact centre, and again, a collaboration with Damien's team. Here is this service is staffed by people with in excess of 10 years experience operating their own business. They draw on Austrade's knowledge base, but they can also refer you to other arms of government, both state and federal, to get the advice that suits your particular needs. It's a very responsive service. We're committed to servicing you within 48 hours if you email the centre, and on the spot as far as possible if you call the centre. So that's a great way to get started if you need help to navigate the export journey. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm handing over to Michael Dean from DFAT.
Thanks, Mari. Good morning, everyone. There's been a few technical issues with my camera this morning, so I'm just coming to you via audio. I have some advice for businesses relating to trade agreements and exporting. So I'd like just to move through a few slides. So if we could go to the next slide, please. The first agreement I want to highlight relates to the World Trade Organization Agreement on Government Procurement. Last year, Australia became the 48th member of the Agreement on Government Procurement. And as a result, Australian businesses can bid for government procurement contracts in 47 overseas markets. This includes countries such as Canada, European Union member states, Japan, Korea, New Zealand, Norway, and the United States. And in such sectors as healthcare, pharmaceuticals, construction, and financial services. Membership of the Agreement on Government Procurement is expected to grow in the future beyond the current number of 48, and this will open up even more government procurement export opportunities for Australian businesses over time. On the slide this morning, I've got you a couple of web addresses, which will hopefully be helpful to those people who want to explore this agreement and the export opportunities associated with it a little bit more. There's DFAT's government procurement webpage and the World Trade Organization's GPA portal. So if you want more specific information on the market access opportunities in other countries, in the 47 other members markets, please explore the websites mentioned on this page. Next slide, please. The second tip I have for you is that Australia has a network of free trade agreements that offers a wide range of goods and services export opportunities in a number of overseas markets. And this slide shows you the existing agreements we have in force as of today. We have 13 with 20 FTA partners. It also shows you the order in which they were entered into force, starting with New Zealand in the early 80s, all the way down to our more recent bilateral free trade agreements that entered into force this year with Hong Kong and Peru. So this represents our existing network, but the government is also working hard to expand the network of free trade agreements by negotiating new free trade agreements, as well as, where possible, reviewing existing agreements with our FTA partners to expand the export opportunities available for businesses in the future. So our negotiating agenda includes, and implementation agenda includes, the Indonesia-Australia Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, also known as ISEPA for short. And this agreement will enter into force on the 5th of July this year, so roughly less than a month away now. And that will open up new export opportunities on a goods and services basis. But we're also negotiating, for instance, with the EU, active negotiations that are well advanced with the EU. And we're looking to launch free trade agreement negotiations with the UK as soon as they're ready to do so. So this is a network that exists at the moment with 13 agreements, 20 FTA partners, but we're looking to expand that over time. Next slide, please. I want to mention two key sources of information for businesses relating to free trade agreements. The first is the FTA portal. This is a very user-friendly website that provides information easily accessed about exporting and importing goods and services using our free trade agreement. So I highly recommend this website, FTA portal tariffs.dfat.gov.au. Users of the portal, for instance, can very easily find out what the reduced tariff rates under our free trade agreements are, and there's a wealth of other easily accessible information that people can look up. The second source of information is DFAT's website. DFAT's free trade agreement web pages can be accessed via the web address mentioned here, fta.gov.au, and these web pages also have very useful information for businesses, including step-by-step guides for each of our free trade agreements to find out how you get the tariff reduction under a free trade agreement, as well as email addresses that can be used to ask DFAT officials specific questions about individual agreements. So the main messages I have for you today is that free trade agreements are helping Australian businesses, both big and small, in exporting, but we want more businesses to be aware of these benefits and to access these benefits. And the other message I have for you regarding free trade agreements is that we are expanding our free trade agreement network over time, so free trade agreements will become increasingly important to businesses over time. I've noticed we've moved to the next slide, which is great. One more slide. The final tip I have for you is that as other countries have reduced their tariffs over time, there's been increasing awareness to and concern expressed by Australian businesses about non-tariff barriers. Non-tariff barriers are where in other countries trade rules unjustifiably restrict our goods and services trade. And in response and working very closely with industry groups, the Australian government has launched a non-tariff barrier action plan and reporting website. And the website is mentioned on this slide, tradebarriers.dfat.gov.au. So if you have concerns with what you think are unjustified non-tariff barriers that exist in other countries, please report them via the website that's mentioned here. And that includes any trade-related COVID-19 measures that exist in other countries that you think are unjustified and impeding your exports. Please report them via this website. So now I'll hand back to Sally and be very happy to participate in the panel session. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael, Damien, Darren and Murray. And I'd like to invite Diane back so that we can start the panel session. I've had lots of questions come in, which is fantastic, and I'm trying to group some of them. I'll just make a comment that some of the questions that we've received that are quite individual, we're going to try and answer those individually. One of the questions we have had several times is the difference between AusIndustry and Austrade. We've got the note here that they sound a little bit the same. Who do I go to for what? Damien, I might hand to you and you can provide us a little bit of an insight about where do exporters go in the pipeline? Would they come to you first, for example?
Yeah, thanks, Sally. Look, it is something that comes up quite a bit when I'm talking to businesses after seminar series and that, and they sort of wonder who does what, and that's always tricky. I would say to businesses, don't worry about who you're going to. Like, we should make sure that you get to the right door. But in this instance, Austrade is the principal Australian government organisation that helps Australian businesses to export. So Austrade has extensive network, as you've heard, and staff home and abroad. Think of AusIndustry as more of your home-based support. We have a range of advisors, as I've mentioned, that shore up your business at home, get it to innovate, be more competitive and grow. So I would just think of AusIndustry as a lot of your support options for making sure your business is in the right shape to then export and then take that next step forward. So you should make sure that if you're thinking about exporting, you are definitely absolutely going to Austrade for your export support needs. But you should also tap AusIndustry on the shoulder and see whether we can support you at home with various programs.
Okay, so for TradeStart, what does that mean? Where does TradeStart fit in? I've got quite a few questions here, Darren, that have come in. For example, one is, how is the best way to connect with TradeStart? And what about if a business just wants to call up an Austrade overseas office if they have a question about that country or if they want to be connected to a customer? I've also got another question, Darren, in regard to TradeStart that asks if it's a paid-for service.
Okay, thanks, Sally. A very good question. Think of TradeStart as a bridge between Austrade and multiple state and territory governments and chambers of commerce. that can connect you with the right resources and people both onshore and offshore. TradeStart services are provided free of charge to all businesses, and we work one-on-one with you. Now, Austrade does require that you speak with an onshore TradeStart or Austrade advisor before getting in contact with an international post, as we need to qualify your eligibility for Austrade services. Once that process has been completed, and if eligible, we can connect you with a relevant Austrade overseas post. So if you want to get in touch with us, the best thing to do is to call 132878, or alternatively, you can Google Austrade TradeStart, and you'll see the full list of metro and regional TradeStart advisors with full contact details, and you can find the one closest to your business. Oh, and don't forget to check out the export.business.gov.au, as Mari mentioned. There's some really great tools that can help you find answers to your export questions there too.
Okay, does anybody else want to add to that, Mari?
I would just say, that there's a wealth of experience across all of both Oz Industry and Austrade and TradeStart, and I don't think you can go wrong. And also the Export Council has those wonderful upskilling opportunities for people who might want to go deeper. So I think, perfect answers so far.
Okay, thank you. I'm trying to read the questions as they're coming in. So, Diane, we've got one here that I think I'm going to direct to you. We've been asked about supply chains. How important are supply chains, and what would you suggest that can be done to protect supply chains for the future?
Thank you, Sally. We've all just gone through 3 months of worrying about supply chains and having disruption and concerns about not just perhaps imported componentry, but getting goods back out, moving goods from other countries to other countries, just even buying locally in Australia as domestic manufacturers having supply chain issues. I think memories can be very short. We are on the road to recovery, and things are moving again, not as good as they were before, but things are moving, and other businesses and other countries are starting to open up and manufacture. But that doesn't mean we should just forget. That's what I'm saying. Memories can be short. We need to have diversified. We need to have sat down, and it's all part of that business plan that I was talking about before, working out what our supply chain is. And it might be just that little widget that is very, very minor in the whole scheme of things, but it can cause a really big problem in the final product or the final thing that you're working on. So whether it's domestically or internationally. So map out your supply chain, even if you think it's all come back to normal. Map it out. Make sure you've looked at every step of that supply chain, not just one part that you get from overseas, but where the parts you buy locally might be coming from and what the issues might have been there. I mean, walking into many shops these days, some of the shelves are quite empty, particularly for goods coming from a base in maybe Asia where the manufacturing hasn't got back to normal. So be very aware of every step of your supply chain. Do an analysis of it. Do a risk analysis, because now is the time to think about alternatives. Okay, it may be that you may need to pay a little bit more somewhere else, but having that secondary supply chain opportunity when something like, and I pray that this never happens again, but who knows what might happen in any circumstance going forward about a supply chain. It could just be disruption in one country that is not causing troubles in other countries, but that supply chain is your supply chain. So you need to map it out. You need to have alternatives, diversification, and systems that allow you to move quickly to another point if you have to. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Diane. I've got a lot of questions coming in with regard to future FTAs and potential FTA with India. I'm going to come to Michael on that in a moment. But first of all, I'll just make the comment that in addition to supply chains, we're hearing a lot about the shift at the moment to digital online. We're receiving a number of questions coming in now through the chat box asking what sort of support there is. So I might go to you first, Darren. The question I've got here is, due to the current travel and shipping restrictions, we're planning to invest more in our website, e-commerce and digital marketing. But what sort of resources are there that can help us understand and refine or, create products that are best suited for those international markets?
Thanks, Sally. Yeah, a very good question. It's actually one I get pretty much every week, talking to a range of different businesses across multiple different industries. And yes, COVID-19 is affecting many businesses and how consumers shop online too. In this difficult time, many international brick and mortar retailers are watching foot traffic and sales drop to near zero. And the most significant shift in consumer behaviour is happening in e-commerce globally now. So to help businesses during this time, Austrade has set up an international e-commerce resources page on their website. You can find it by Googling Austrade e-commerce. It's that simple. In it, you'll find step-by-step process setting out how to implement an online export strategy. It also includes country reports setting out country-specific platforms, buying habits, shopping and payment preferences, and there are guides to the large international platforms such as eBay, Amazon, Shopify, Google, Facebook, how to deal with logistics, how to deal with cross-border payment platforms. Also, if you don't have a strong LinkedIn profile for both you and your business, then connecting with new prospects overseas, particularly during this time, will be quite challenging. So I think COVID-19 has really brought to the front of mind a trend that was already happening quite some time, and that is if you don't have a strong digital presence promoting your brand and your products and services, it will become increasingly harder for people to find you and in many cases trust you and choose to buy from you.
Thanks for that, Darren. Is anybody else want to jump in and add anything about the e-commerce or digital marketing? I have got a question that's come in around whether EMDG, that's the Export Market Development Grant, whether that does cover off the costs associated, and short answer is yes. It will cover the costs of search engine optimization, online marketing. But Murray or Diane, was there anything else you wanted to add there? I've got another question for you coming up, Murray. There are so many coming in, and I can see that we're quickly running out of time. So, Diane, was there anything you wanted to add about e-commerce before I cut across to Murray?
Thanks, Sally. I would like to just point out that the past 3 months have seen a shift in e-commerce. It's not just an increase, a rise in the people in people buying things, but the demographics of who's buying has changed as well. So many businesses that are doing e-commerce and have felt really very excited about what has happened in the last 3 months, remember that you have brought on now an added demographic age range, and you need to keep moving along that pathway. You need to keep thinking about the people that are looking at e-commerce now. It has been designed in the past for the younger generation, if you like, but now the older generation is taking it up with gusto, and I think that will need a change in some of the digital marketing that is done for e-commerce sites. It's very, very important to remember that you now have a bigger audience, but also anyone that is doing e-commerce and they're growing really strongly. Remember that this is a vertical export method. There are other vertical systems that you can look at as well. So reducing your costs, logistics are important and difficult at the moment. So reducing your costs by putting larger quantities maybe in other countries and having a flow system in that country, not just trying to do it one here and one there. So you need to reassess the way you manage your e-commerce platforms based on the past 3 months, basically. Thank you.
And Sally,
I can see we're getting very close to time. We'll probably go ahead, Murray. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I would only add that I think that I know that there is information about this available on both the austrade.gov.au website and the export.business.gov.au website, and also that some of our industry teams are hosting particular webinars or providing insights. For example, in international health and also in international education, our network of business development managers overseas are reporting insights from their markets about how COVID is impacting on particular industries and responses to that. And so there's also the promotion of Australian online education and a campaign across the world to support that.
Thank you. Thank you, Murray. I've got a couple of questions that keep coming in. So, Michael, just confirming that you are on the line. A lot of questions about upcoming free trade agreements. What about India? Can you give us any advice on what the likelihood is with an FTA with India in the future?
Sure, thanks, Sally. Just to give a bit of background, Australia and India and a number of other Asian countries have been involved in negotiations called the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP for short, and those negotiations are wrapping up this year. India has been involved in the past, but it's publicly stated that it's not ready to join RCEP. The Australian government, however, is committed to building on the economic relationship we already have with India and continuing to deepen our trade ties with that country. So we're currently exploring if and how the work done in RCEP could be captured between the two countries. And as part of the recently launched Comprehensive Strategic Partnership between Australia and India, both countries have decided to re-engage on the bilateral FTA negotiations, which have not been active for a number of years. So we are working very hard with India. It has, of its own choice, pulled out of the RCEP negotiations, but we are trying to work very hard bilaterally to improve our trade ties with India. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Michael. We've got a lot of questions. We've got questions about the US FTA, about the buying American strategy. We've got questions about where to get a certificate of origin from in Melbourne. I can answer that quite easily from the Victorian Chamber of Commerce or from the Australian Industry Group. What we will do is try to answer some of these questions individually, but due to time, I am going to have to unfortunately call it a wrap there. So a big thanks to our guest speakers and their presentation. So a virtual round of applause from me. And thank you to everybody for questions. My apologies that we couldn't answer everything, but we will take those into consideration, and please know will help shape our content going forward. Now, if there is a topic that you really, really want to hear about, please make sure that you add that into the survey, into the box there. Just take a moment. You can do it. Take a moment and just click on and provide us some feedback. That will be really helpful for our next webinar. Speaking of which, in 2 weeks' time, on the 24th of June, we are going to be speaking about demystifying trade. So if a lot of the terminology around Incoterms or around HS codes is of interest, but also a little bit of a mystery to you, well, please join us to hear more about that on the 24th. It'll be riveting, I'm sure. The link to register for the next webinar is already available. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I hope that we could answer some of your questions. We look forward to seeing you again, albeit digitally, at our next webinar on the 24th of June. So on behalf of everybody who spoke today from Sydney, Melbourne, Canberra, Adelaide, from Brisbane, I'd like to say thanks very much. It's a wrap, so it's goodbye from me. Cheers.